How many people here have had to go to a hospital for some medical condition, or had a family member who had to stay overnight because of some injury? My own experience comes from my family. My dad broke his hip in a dump truck accident. My mom had to have a C-section for all three of her children, and my brother is currently undergoing care for a fractured kneecap. What really hurt in these situations, though, wasn't the injury, wasn't the care that we had to get. It was the bill we were handed at the end of the procedures. An extremely large bill that shows one major flaw in the U.S. healthcare system: it costs too much. Today, I hope to inform you as to why the U.S. healthcare system has failed and how it might be improved. First, let's take a look at the spending in the U.S. on healthcare. The Commonwealth Fund, a private healthcare organization, estimates that the U.S. spends about 16.6% of its gross domestic product, or GDP, on healthcare. This is twice as much as the average Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, or OECD, country spends on healthcare, with the average country spending about 8.8% of its gross domestic product in healthcare. The spending can be broken down into three categories: public spending from the government, private spending into voluntary insurance premiums, and out-of-pocket spending in primarily doctor copays. In public spending, the U.S. spends about $5,000 yearly for healthcare. This is on par with several countries, including Germany, Poland, and Switzerland. It falls a decent ways above the OECD average of about $3,000, but I think we can all agree more government spending is usually a good thing. In out-of-pocket spending, these doctor copays, the U.S. ends up paying about $1,100. This is a little ways above the OECD average of about $730, but it's still not the highest. The highest is actually Switzerland, with about $2,200 in out-of-pocket spending. It's in the private spending that comes from these voluntary insurance premiums to private insurance companies. The average OECD country pays about $220 to $230 in this area. The U.S. spends $4,100 a year on these private insurance companies. This is the problem. The average person is forced to spend increasingly large amounts of money on a private insurance company that should be provided for them through their government. Let's take a look at another area in which the U.S. healthcare system has failed: medication. More specifically, let's take a look at one which was never intended to get this bad: insulin. Insulin was discovered in 1923 by one Frederick Banting. The medication he discovered would help diabetics continue to regulate their blood sugar levels and stay alive. When he discovered this in 1923 and it was patented, Frederick Banting refused to put his name onto that patent because he didn't want to profit off of this life-saving medicine. When his partners James Cullop and Charles Best took this patent, to the University of Toronto to sell it and get it in production, they sold it for $1. None of the three wanted this product to be used for profit. They wanted to help people. Now let's take a look at insulin today. In Canada and the United Kingdom, the average price of insulin is about $12 per vial or $7.52 per vial, respectively. In the US, that same one vial of insulin costs $98.70. It's almost a 700% increase from the price in Canada, and it shows the fail of the US healthcare system, where a product that was never intended to be privatized became used for profit. This problem can be seen across several medications, but insulin is one of the biggest. In any other country, you'll spend at most $100 a month if you're diabetic to get this medicine. In the US, you might spend $450 a month and possibly more. But I mean, come on. If we're putting so much money into it, then things have to be improving. We have to be doing good, right? Dead wrong. The US, in a study done by the CIA, they ranked every country based on their average lifespan at birth. The US ranked 43rd in that study. at 80 years at birth. This is a problem. We are ranked 43rd, and we put more money into our healthcare system than any other country. And the problem is, it's not money that people can afford, and so people get worried about having to go to the hospital. Think about it. How many of you have been concerned about going to the hospital because you don't want to pay a couple $1,000s in an ambulance ride, followed by tens of thousands more for a quick procedure? This is a failing in the US healthcare system. People skip medications because they can't afford them, and it's something that needs to change. And we already have some of this change happening. In Colorado, very recently, they set the maximum cost of insulin per month to $100 per month. This helps people. If it were accepted by the rest of the states in the United States, it would vastly improve our healthcare system. Furthermore, less reliance on private health care, private insurance companies would allow for people to more readily get the care that they need because the government provides this for them, not money they have to spend to get money back maybe 7 years down the line. In conclusion, we failed as a country. We need to change our healthcare system so that there's less people spending money on private insurance to ensure that they get the care they need, more government spending to ensure these people can get the care that they require, and a lock on medication prices so they don't skyrocket out of control so that people can go to the hospital and get the care they need. Thank you.